Hi everyone, I'm Harley D, and today we're going to be having a look at my top 10 plugins. So let's kick things off with number 10. It's actually going to be joint templates because it's my analysis tools that I use, Span and Insight. So to me, these come as a pair because they're always on my master bus on every single project now. After trying out so many different analysis tools, this is just a combination that I think works perfectly for me. I can see my RMS, my peak levels, my integrated LUFS, short-term, momentary LUFS. Insight has the stereo imaging tool that you can look at. It's also got a spectrogram, quite a few other things there. But yeah, I'm just really looking at the loudness and levels part of it. And yeah, obviously with Span, you can see mid-side mode. So if I just give this a play, show you the sort of stuff that I'm looking at here. So for example, there, the pink underlay, that's my side signal, and the green overlay is the mids. And then you can see, like, I've got my LUFS here. So yeah, these are the tools that really get used all the time. Probably the plugins that I use the most, but they're analysis tools, so they come in at number 10. Okay, so in at number 9, I've got texture. So this plugin is basically what it says. It adds texture to your sound. So what you can do is basically choose from all of these noises that they've got in here. You might even be able to put your own in. You can import your own, import sample there. I haven't actually done that yet, but there's so many to choose from, and I usually just end up using the white noise ones. But I'll show you what that does. So yeah, it adds white noise over it, and you can turn this mix down. So I don't ever have it like here. So I'm having it more of the dry signal than the noise. You can then filter the noise so you can have what frequency content of the noise you want. And if you bring the, play with the gate, the decay, and the hold, you can have more sustain, or you can make it like this, and it follows the envelope of the sound much more. So it sounds like it's got like a gritty texture to the sub. Whereas if I was to bring the gate down and open up the decay and the attack, it starts to sound more like noise. But that can work nice if you want to layer it on top of snares, on top of kick drums, layer up your hats with this to give it a bit more air around the sound. But yeah, for the sub, I think this works really well. And in at number 8, we have a Valhalla Room. What more can I say other than it's just probably one of the best reverbs. All the Valhalla reverbs, actually, they're all amazing. The plate, especially the shimmer. But for me, Room's probably the most versatile because it can do really short decay times. And it's just so easy to use. I like the user interface is amazing. It's got a lot of extra options, lots of different reverb modes. It just sounds great overall. You can't go wrong with it. So yeah, let me just give it a quick play. Yeah, so such a wicked reverb, that one. But yeah, any of the Valhalla reverbs, you can't go wrong. Definitely recommend checking them out. Okay, so next up we have the Echo Boy. So yeah, this is a delay by Sound Toys. They call it an analog echo processor. But yeah, probably the best delay that I've come across. And it's basically, it's got saturation in it. It's got all these different modes, different ways of adjusting how the delay comes in, how quick it is, how it reacts with this groove and fill. You've got your standard feedback, mix amount, low cut, high cut, echo time, which you can change between different sort of like time, note, dot, or triplet mode. So yeah, you can go really in depth with this, or you can keep it quite basic with just these functions. Or you can open up this tweak down here and then adjust your stereo width, your left-right offset, change the mode, and then you get much more options with each different mode as well. So it's up to you. If you want to go really in depth with it, you can just check through all these different presets. Gets a bit overwhelming sometimes, but yeah, such a great delay plugin. I love to use it on vocals. It's probably where it gets the most use, but anything that could do with some extra stereo width or a delay, this is my go-to. And yeah, I'm just going to show you a couple ways that I use it. So first off, like for using it to like create stereo width to a sound, I'm going to show you that. So that's basically with these sort of settings with a nearly full mix on the, actually this one here, sorry. So yeah, it's 85% wet. The feedback's near 50%, and I've got the note on 164 notes. Low cuts up, a little bit of saturation, and I'll turn it off and play it. So that's it without Echo Boy, and now with Echo Boy. As you can see, it creates a really nice stereo rip to the sound. And then obviously just as a delay, so what I've got here is this one here is just the vocal dry. So if I turn the delay off, so I've just duplicated it up. That's how I like to use this. Instead of doing a send effects, I'll just duplicate it so I can see 2 layers. So you can see it says get set. And then what I do is if I put the mix to full wet, it won't layer up now and it will just give me the delay part of it. So if I bring the feedback up a little bit, once again, the low cut, the saturation's up. Don't need to mess around with a tweak. And then what will happen is you'll get this nice wide stereo image after it's got the dry mono part. So let's bring that note down a little bit slower to like 1, 2, half a note. So yeah, it goes middle and it starts to contrast and come out. So yeah, that's probably one of the best things I like about this this delay is the nice stereo image to the sound and being able to give it a bit of saturation to really make it pop out of the mix. So yeah, number 7, Echo Boy. Okay, so in at number 6, we've got the Kilohertz Transient Shaper. So yeah, I think this is the most unique transient shaper that I've come across purely for the pump and the speed feature it's got. And it's also got a clip built into it there. So yeah, some really good options to sort of tweak your sound. So what this does, it lets you sort of shape the middle part of the sound with the pump. So if I turn this all the way up, let me play this here, this drum loop. So this is actually shaping the middle part of the sound, whereas the attack's obviously going to be shaping the attack, the initial part of the sound. The sustain is going to be doing the tail. So this gives you a lot of control over how you shape your sound. And the speed is sort of like relates to all of it, how quick it's all reacting. So for example, if I was to put this speed all the way to 500%, so it lets me just isolate the transients there, and I can then really dial it into how far I want to bring out the transients and bring the sustain back. So yeah, all the while you can clip it off so it's not going above 0 dB. So yeah, this is an absolute wicked transient shaper. Obviously settings like this are a bit extreme, but let's dial it back to something that's more reasonable. So yeah, as you can see, you've got so much control over this one. Let's play that in context of this track. So yeah, that's number 6, Kilohertz Transient Shaper. So in at number 5, we've got Decapitator and Thermal. So I couldn't quite pick between the two because they do offer different things, but probably get used the same amount just for different reasons. So the Decapitator is more of like a analog saturation distortion unit, whereas Thermal is quite digital, I would say, but it offers a lot of different options in terms of like the amount of different types of distortions and wave shaping options it has. In terms of the extra effects, obviously it being multi-band with 3 different stages, I'd say this is like a do-it-all one. But Decapitator just has that extra vibe that I really love. So yeah, let me give you a quick idea of how I use it. So this is just a sub run into Decapitator. So you can see I've turned the drive all the way up to 10. You can change between the different modes down here to get different sort of sound. I've just turned the low cut up just so I can tame that low end that's getting distorted and sort of create more of a mid bass out of this sub. And yeah, I haven't really messed around with the tone, but if you want, it's basically got a tone shape there, so you can make it less bright, more dark. I think that's going to be like a an EQ, just tilting it. High cut, low cut works really well if you bring the low cut up and then distort things with some subbing. The punish mode to give it some extra distortion. Yeah, absolute wicked distortion unit. Okay, so in at number 4, we've got Elevate by Newfangled Audio. And I would say this is quite comparable to like Isotope Ozone in how it's like a mastering processor. But for me personally, I much prefer the sound of this and the results that I get. So what it's got is like a limiter. It's got the transient emphasis module, which is not something I'd actually do, like trying to emphasize the transients on the master bus. But just a little bit of this with the adaptive transient mode on sounds just really good. And it can really help them pop out of the mix without ruining the mix, essentially. And it's got the spectral clipper, which I think sounds amazing. I'm not too sure what it actually does, the spectral clipper, but you can blend the shape down here between soft clipping and hard clipping. And yeah, it just helps to bring a little bit more perceived loudness out, a bit more power out of the track. And also you can measure the RMS, which I find really handy because Insight's one's different to Elevate's. So I like to use that as well, the RMS measurement. And you can go into the individual parts here and go in much more in depth with them again. So you can actually like boost the transients of different frequency bands. So you can choose how many bands you actually have in on the filter bank part here. So you can change how many bands you have here. And that will affect your limiter EQ bands, transient bands, and this is the clipper part. But yeah, I don't tend to use that too much. I like to stick to this like main parameters page and just use this. A little bit of limiting, turn the speed down a little bit, bit of transient emphasis, and using the soft clipper. Using it as a soft clipper essentially. Let me show you how that sounds. So you can see I'm adding about 2 or 3 dB of RMS onto this with this this little bit of limiting and soft clipping. So yeah, absolute wicked mastering plugin. So in at number 3, we've got Shaperbox. And yeah, this is like a do-it-all plugin. It's got so many different options. I'll just quickly run through them all. So like what you've got here is distortion, saturation. You can add noise onto your signal like texture does. You've got a filter, pan, volume enveloping, bit crushing, flanger, reverb, width, and this time part here, which is like a reverse stutter sort of glitch effects. So it can do so much. It's also got an oscilloscope and a compressor now. So it really is like a do-it-all sort of plugin. But the way I'm using it, the most anyway, is for the volume enveloping. So this is like my sidechain setup. So this is it on my sub bass. So you can hear it ducking there. And what that's ducking is in line with the kick. So if I show you my kick pattern, so this is a bar here, and I've set it up over a bar here. So as this goes along, it will follow the grid basically. So you can see I've got 2 kicks and a kick in the middle here. So if I play the kicks, so yeah, basically it's ducking every time the kick hits. But what I've also done and what it allows you to do is shape it before. So I'm turning it down just before the kick hits. So you don't get like that popping that you get with sidechaining. That's why I find volume enveloping so much more. You've got full control over how it's going to react, and you don't get any extra transients added on with the pops of the sidechain compressor. So it's clinical essentially. It's really pinpoint how you want it to be. And yeah, like with this grid thing, you can do it with all the other effects. You can like choose where the distortion comes in. You can make crazy wobbles with this. You can shape noise to stuff even more precise in texture. Yeah, there's, you can shape your reverbs. You can also use this envelope part, which will help it follow it dynamically without you drawing it in. It's a very powerful plugin. So I really recommend if you can get a trial, trying it out. But yeah, for me, like it's a go-to for the volume enveloping. It's used on every single project. You can use it on snares for mid basses, percussion buses for the kicks and the snares. And yeah, like you can also then put the mix amount. So say you set up your sidechain, but you don't want it to be full sidechaining like it is here. You can just bring the mix down and just blend it in till it's just the right amount of sidechain or volume enveloping that you need. Okay, so in at number 2, we've got Infiltrator. So yeah, this is like a multi-effects unit again, with so many different options. So essentially what it's got is 10 different slots that you can add effects into. So if I click on one, you can see it's got all these different filters here, all these different effects, these spectral effects here, utilities, EQ. You've got a master section where you can drive it, compress it. And similar to Shaperbox, so say I choose one, let's go with a comb filter. I can then also do what I did with Shaperbox and choose the speed and also affect how the comb filter comes in and out. So this blue line here will be how much of this is being put in. So yeah, it's quite confusing, but once you play around with it, you start to get used to it. And if you're accustomed to Shaperbox, you can get used to this a lot quicker. So also alongside that, you can just, if you don't want to use the effects and you just want to kind of get used to this plugin, you can just literally press that random button and it's got hundreds of presets, which are absolutely mad. How much they change the sound. So I like to put it on the master bus, the bass bus, the drum bus, and just run stuff through it and then bounce it out and resample it. And you just can come up with endless possibilities that will, spark your creativity and imagination. So for example, let me just play a random. Yeah, and that was just, just really quickly going through some of the different presets, or pressing the random preset button. And what I would do is, like I say, just bounce out a section of the track, render a section of the track, and then just maybe EQ that render and fit it into the track somewhere, like little end of bar fills or stuff. You just get such unique stuff that you probably would never even come to if you're trying to like make that. But yeah, on top of that, like I said, you can really go in depth with this plugin and learn how to use all the individual elements and how they can all like equate to make something mad like these presets are doing essentially. So yeah, that's why it's at my number 2 spot, because it's just endless motivation, creativity and inspiration. But yeah, let's have a look at number 1. Bet you can't guess what this is. Neither can I. So yeah, number 1, Pro Q. Pro Q. Best plugin ever.